Who's your recruiting service you guys prefer? Because I'm a 24/7 consensus guy. It's just my habit.
I just like 24/7 for the composite.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
I think On 3 got a little bit too many bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I think Rivals, and I would never, ever ESPN. Ever.
No.
So there's that. That's kind of how I would rank them. I would go 24/7, On 3, Rivals, ESPN. ESPN down here. Anyways, let's talk about this right now. There's 19 commits in this class right now. I have 3 categories of football players I want to talk about today. I have starred, what I call UGA NIL takes. These are kids in state with traits or tape that love Georgia. These are diehard Georgia guys. You hope they never leave unless you ask them to. And then potential my guys. We got a couple candidates of those tonight. And wife scouts. I've already labeled some of these wife scouts that are very, very obvious. Where should we start tonight, boys? The UGA NIL takes, the potential my guys, or the wife scouts?
Let's do wife scouts.
All right, wife scouts. Real simple and easy right now. Zayden Walker, Isaiah Gibson, Elias Williams. I think they are as bona fide 5 stars as bona fide 5 stars can be. I would have had questions about Zayden Walker's transition from stand-up outside linebacker to inside linebacker had I not gone and seen it. And I went and saw it. No questions asked. He is a wife scout. Okay. All right. Potential my guys or UGA NIL takes next.
We get an early taste on the my guys.
We got some potential candidates. Okay. We still got to see some senior tape though.
Let's see it.
All right. We got candidates right here. Lowest ranked candidate so far, Jalen Morgan. We watched that tape last night. I love that tape. I love the explosivity that he has. I love the power in the pads. I love the fluidity that we saw on tape. I love that he knows he ain't one of these traitsy guys. I love that. I love that you talk like that already at 17, 18 years old, that you know you have to overcome some things that other guys were blessed with. And by the way, you're still pretty blessed. Like, you're not a bad athlete. You're just not a 1%er, and that's okay. My other potential, my guy, Todd Robinson. I just love this kid. I love him for a variety of reasons. It's very rare you see high school quarterbacks that you know are tough. Like, you just know are tough as shit. And he's not going to play quarterback in high school or in college. So that's a great thing that we know he's tough. But there's just so much about the physical package of this football player and the location of where he's coming from and the program that he's coming from in Valdosta that I just trust so much about the eval that I just don't think there's any way he's going to be a bad player in college. So he is a candidate for me for sure. At about, I think he measured it 6'1", 205 pounds, ran 4.48, and had 23 miles per hour in his catapult at the University of Georgia this summer. We good. Okay. I believe he's going to play either safety or star at the University of Georgia. So he is a potential my guy candidate. And another candidate I'm watching closely. I don't feel as strongly as I do about Todd Robinson. He's kind of in that Jalen Morgan. Going to have to find out. Taylon Taylor, the wide receiver at Illinois. I think he's really, really good. I do also think he lacks some physical 1% traits, and that's okay. If he is buddy from Michigan.
Oh,
Roman Wilson. If he is Roman Wilson, that's a hit. You'll take that at the University of Georgia. If he's an 800-yard receiver, that's a my guy, and we're good with that. So there's that. Now, this last category on these commitments that I want to notify, and I feel like since name, image, and likeness has become a real player, and by the way, it's going to become a bigger player now more than ever as sanctions approach. We talked about this last night to an extent. We got regulation coming, guys. House versus NCAA is going to be settled. It already is preemptively settled. It will be fully settled before the season even starts. By 2025, I would imagine we have regulation. So what does that mean? That means over the next 12 to 15 months, teams that are NIL-based, meaning I'm going to buy commits from great players, those teams are going to be out here throwing money at a higher rate than ever before because they know the faucet's going to be cut off relatively soon. Your ability to just willy-nilly offer somebody legally $1.5 million to come be insert school here, okay, it ain't happening in about 12 months, okay? So I would imagine over the next year, we're going to see bigger bags than ever thrown at some of these football players, which means if you're the state of Georgia or if you're the University of Georgia and you have in-state products like you have got to prioritize in-state takes because the history of transfer portal will tell us that you're either leaving for money or you're leaving to go back closer to home. So what do? We take a bunch of in-state guys that we think will fit our program. Okay, I got a list of these guys right here. Bo Walker is the definition of it. He doesn't have a Georgia trait. He has Georgia tapes, though. He has Georgia tape. He about a 4.58 runner, I think. Okay, some short area quickness. About 5'9", about 200 pounds. He is not Cedric Baxter. He is not Justice Haynes. He is not insert five-star Ruben Owens. He is not these guys, okay? However, he's got tape that matches some of those guys to an extent and loves Georgia. We'll take him. Thomas Blackshear. I've heard George Pickens named with this kid so often for a variety of reasons. The playmaking ability, the body control, the 4'8", 4'5"-ish runner, right? All of these things that's in a 6'3", 6'1.5", 6'2", 200-pound frame. Also, there's some attitude. Plays wide receiver with an attitude. We'll call it that. Okay, so I take him. Calvary Day wants to come to Georgia. Come on with it. So that's one of those. Dontrell Glover, prime example of this. Kid in state, an absolute dog on the field, okay, plays with a little bit of nasty to him, and loves Georgia. Take the kid. Absolutely take the kid. Landon Roldan, the kid from North Oconee, I mean, we've seen 1,000 times take a shot, Lad McConkey, okay? Yeah, it's what they're doing. They saw a 4.38 guy that had no real, Power 5 interest. They took him. It's the definition of what they've done in years past. Who else we got here? Mason Short. Augusta, come on. You're going to be a dog the rest of your life, Mason Short. Whoever the next Mason Short is, you're probably going to be a dog too. This is a Jamal Merriweather take for me. The kid from Brunswick a couple years ago, it's like, he can either go to Texas A&M or he can go to Kentucky, or we can just take him. Well, we'll just take him. Let's just do that. So I look at him that way. I look at Christian Garrett the same way. Christian Garrett is going to come into a class that looks like Isaiah Gibson and maybe probably Justice Terry, Elijah Griffin, probably, right? And Christian Garrett is not going to be anywhere near as quote-unquote talented or as high profile as those football players. But guess what? He's from Bogart County. He went to Prince Avenue Christian. That dude wanted his whole life probably to play at the University of Georgia. Now he's going to get an opportunity to do so. This is Justin Green from last class. You take these guys. You take them every single time if you can get them. Todd Robinson, we talked about him as well. That's an in-state take. I love that they do this. I don't know if other schools, matter of fact, I know that other schools don't have the ability to do this because their in-state products are not as pristine as the University of Georgia's. But I love that they do this because I think it's why their retention rate's as high as it is. Not only the cultural buy-in and all that good stuff, but they have prioritized in-state kids because of this, where, a couple years ago, I think the Keely Ringo class, they signed 17 kids from out of state. Majority of their class is from California, Texas, Arizona, Northern California, freaking kid from Rhode Island. It's like all over the place. Now, they're kind of doing a little bit of balance of both.
What do you think led to that change? Was it just Georgia said, hey, we need to really start hammering down the in-state prospects, or they started evaluating them differently and were more attracted to certain ones this class? Or
two things. 100% transfer portal, 100% NIL. Those two changes in college football made Georgia realize, okay, maybe we stop chasing the Jamie Frenches of the world and we take a Roldan. Because chasing Jamie French forever might cost us the Roldan kid, right? I just think the proximity to talent in this state and the idea that maybe you could pay less to get a kid to come here as opposed to what USC or Texas might have to pay him to come out of state, that helps as well, right? You're more willing to pay to be making, let's just throw a number out there, $100,000 at the University of Georgia instead of $250 at Texas because, well, mom and dad want to come see me play. So are mom and dad going to pick up and move to Texas? Maybe. We got enough money to do so now. Well, there goes all of my NIL money, making sure mom and dad got a place to live out here in Texas. You see what I'm saying? There are cheaper ways of going about it if you recruit in-state kids. And the transfer portal. They have statistics at Georgia that I would assume tell them that majority of kids that transfer go closer to home. Take Jamon Dumas-Johnson, for example. I believe the closest SEC school to the DMV is Kentucky, right? Mm-hmm. That's a kid from Maryland.
Yeah.
Kentucky's probably the closest school to him in the SEC. There you go. Tyler Williams, transferred to Minnesota. Why? He's from Florida. He's got family in Minnesota. So the proximity to family and the proximity to home impacts these decisions when kids decide to leave. Any idea or any comments, questions, concerns about any of those three categories: the UGA, NIL takes, potential my guys, or wife scouts?
Where'd you have Ethan Barber on that? I forgot.
All right. I love Ethan Barber's hand strength. I love Ethan Barber's general natural. He's got natural hands. I talked about this with him. I can't remember when I said this or who I said this to. It's one of those things. Ethan is one of the very few prospects. I don't think Georgia signed one like this since George Pickens that has the combination of really strong hands, meaning the moment the ball has been caught, you are not separating that out. I don't care how hard you swipe down. I don't care how hard you peanut Tillman punch. I don't care what it is. That ball is not leaving that kid's hands. But strong hands paired with soft hands is very rare. This guy had it. Larry Fitz had it. You will never hear a ball hit Larry Fitzgerald's fingers. You won't. Like most kids, you throw a ball to them, you can hear the ball hit their hands. You won't hear that at Larry. It's silent. It's just like his hands just naturally absorb the energy of the football as if he was born to do that. Ethan's that type of guy. Here's my concerns. Here's why he's not a wife scout. Here's why he's not a my guy. Here's all these things. Okay. He's 6'3". Mm-hmm. He's 230 pounds. He's a 4.75 runner. There's not a lot of elite 5-star wife scout traits in that frame, except for the hands and just the general catching ability. Okay, so I worry about the ability to separate in college. I also worry about the length. There's not a ton of it. However, he makes contested catches at a rate that most guys his size don't. So maybe there are ways that he overcomes this. I just have a hard time projecting him to be Jaheim Bell or projecting him to be one of these 6'3", really, really good H-type tight ends, even though Todd sees it. Todd Hartley sees a lot more of these guys than I do. Todd Hartley knows a lot more than I do. Here's what I will tell you. That kid's going to compete his ass off. He's going to talk a lot of shit while doing so. And I think that room needed a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you want to always have at least that one dog in the room. I know we talked about how KJ Bolden kind of did this to the safety room this offseason.
Put that dog in him.
Yeah. So it's good for that. I do think the size is probably going to become an issue. It's not ideal, but I don't think he's extremely undersized. Like the 6'3" is not horrible for a tight end.
I mean,
Brock Bowers was what, 6'4"?
Yeah.
So
6'4" and a quarter at the combine.
No, I mean, an inch matters, but